Okay, let's take a look. I like that you got the swish on here. That looks good. You might do something like, change the color of the soles at least a little bit. Um, and here on the pants, it looks like pretty much a solid color. You might, paint some variation in there. Yeah, it really looks like it's just plain a solid color. So maybe some wrinkles and folds. I think on this stuff, I'm really feeling like the contrast between the very saturated pink and the gray is just, it's a bit much and it's kind of distracting. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can decrease that. Oh, you shouldn't use your Lambert 1 material. You should leave that as the default. I can show you how to swap that out if we let's actually open up the hypershade, and yeah, I believe it's this one. So you would just right mouse click, create node, make a new Lambert, take the color from this and assign it to that, and then select this one and delete that to break it. And so then you leave your Lambert as default, and then I can just middle mouse drag that onto the character. Let's try that again. Middle mouse drag this onto the character. Yeah, okay, that worked. But yeah, what I was going to say was, I wonder if we could play with the file in here and see. Sometimes with this color balance thing, you can, that'll just make it a little darker. This will kind of decrease the contrast, but it also I'm losing your tattoo in the process, maybe. But I don't know that I would have that 100% black either, to be honest. Maybe we could try in Photoshop. Let me just get the location of the file. Actually, I can find it. So I was just thinking, let's select some of that, and then select similar, and then select some of that, and then select similar. No? Doesn't want to do that. Maybe I'll, whoops. I'll just select these for now. And maybe just the hue and saturation thing, like take down the saturation a whole bunch. So it's not quite so saturated. And then I think what I would have done with this is you'd have to redo it now, unfortunately. But like if I was going to do text on here, there's not really any way to do this, easy way to do this after the fact. But change the text color to black. So let's just say I had that text on there, and then what I would do is I would change this to, I'm not sure, it might be just more a question of, I don't think any of these are gonna, well, soft light isn't too bad. Actually, that's not so good. I'd probably just leave it at normal, but just the opacity a little bit, so that you're seeing some of the skin color come through it, and it's not like a perfectly solid black, you know. I think that would look a little bit better than just a solid, perfect black. Um, anyway, let's save as to, and then we can assign that, and you can see if you like it any better. Yeah, I would go even further, just kind of make it more subtle. And then maybe you want to also paint some other just variation that kind of goes over all this stuff. Like I could even do that right here in Maya with 3D Paint, and maybe I just let's assign edit texture, and then maybe I'll just use black for the moment, and just kind of use a low opacity, and just maybe like, well, that's even too much. Sometimes you have to undo twice with this thing. But like find some, you know, just some areas to add some variation to the color and shading, you know. So it's not so even, just, you know, doing it in sort of a thoughtful way where you'd think there would be some differences, and it starts to kind of, I don't know. I'm not sure that this black is the best thing to be putting on here, but it's just starting to, I think it could be even lower contrast here with that's too obvious. And then you could do other stuff. I don't know, you could, if you wanted like higher saturation in certain areas, or, you know, little bits of color, you could yeah, you could play with these a little bit, but maybe you want, I don't know if that looks weird. Just undoing that. I think it helps to be very subtle with this kind of thing. Oh, that's weird. You know, you could look for other areas you wanted to add, but just so that it's not this like very solid cartooning. I mean, to me, I know that was a little bit messy and thoughtless the way I did it, but it just kind of brings it to life a little bit more. So that's just a few ideas of what you could do with the texture, so it's not so like kind of graphic, and it's almost too clean looking. And I think again I would keep going. I might keep going with toning down the contrast between the gray and the pink, because it's just very distracting, and you have a very nicely modeled character, and these shapes are kind of pulling attention away from the shape of the model itself. So I think it could be more subtle.